Hello. So while I was in high school, well, it actually was not that long ago. It was only a couple years ago. Um, the drugs that were popular were obviously weed, because I feel like that's just always been popular. It's always been around. I know in the module you said that it kind of comes and goes in its popularity, but for some reason when I was growing up, I feel like the kids that did a drug, it was always weed. They always would smoke weed. And so that was one of the more popular ones. Another one, the last year I was in high school, when I was a senior, my school had a problem with prescription pain pills. A lot of kids had started taking those from like their grandma or their parents or something like that, and actually coming to school and selling them. And when I was a senior, there actually was a bust for prescription drugs. And so I feel like my parents were always really concerned about weed. And they would always talk to me about it, ask me if I had ever smoked weed, that kind of stuff. But they never talked to me about prescription pain pills. And my school, we would always have like the DARE thing or whatever. And they would always warn us against like smoking weed and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like weed was the only one that we ever got really targeted on. And then the prescription drug thing came out of nowhere. And then it was all of a sudden like, oh, it's prescription drugs. That's the new target. So I know that, yeah, like I said, my parents never had talked to me about doing prescription drugs. I think they just thought that was like an older person thing, like when older people usually are the ones that are taking the opioids and that kind of stuff. So I think that they just thought that those were the people that got addicted to them, not teenagers. But anyways, so yeah. And I think my parents, their understanding of like weed and what it does to you and like the side effects from it and all that were pretty good. We had a pretty open relationship, and they talked to me about it and definitely let me know the cons and even the pros of doing it. And so I feel like I was pretty educated on that aspect, but not on the prescription pain pill aspect. And so the other addictions that I think are new and up and coming, like you said in the module, were social media. I definitely think that is something that people are so addicted to these days. It is insane to see. I actually work at a hospital right now, and like I'll be going in to get a report on this patient, and the patient will be sitting there on their phone and not even looking up and not even wanting to participate in the report that the nurse is giving to me. About them. And so it's just crazy. Like you see this every single day. Like you can't even drive down the road without people being on their phone, especially teenagers these days. And it is definitely something that I think is just as much as a problem as, smoking weed is the addiction. I feel like social media and texting and your phone, just being on your phone, is the addiction as well. And this type of stuff is super hard to scientifically assess, because first of all, people lie. Like, especially teenagers, they're not going to admit that they're smoking weed most of the time. Like, they're not going to say that they're texting and driving, or, they're not going to admit that they have a problem with that. So it's like really hard, I think, to get accurate data. To know what is right and what like is wrong, who's telling the truth. There's always going to maybe be like a negative outlier or any type of outlier coming into the situation. So yeah, that is my thoughts on it.